Today we're joined by Jennie Ruemping with Acti-Kare Responsive In-Home Care, serving families throughout the greater Seattle, Puget Sound area. Jennie works closely with local families seeking dependable, responsive support at home and brings insights into what quality in-home care looks like day to day. In this conversation, you'll learn what home care services include, who they help most, and what families should know when considering care for a loved one in Seattle. So Jennie, in simple terms, what does home care mean for Seattle families today?
It's a good question. When people ask what home care really means, because there's a lot of confusion about what is home care, the simple way I explain it is this. Home care is the support that helps a person live independently and safely in their own home. That might look like bathing, a meal, getting around the house safely, or maybe remembering medications. Sometimes it's just having someone there so they're not alone. For a lot of families, it's also what makes everything feel manageable again. It lets a spouse or an adult child stop trying to do absolutely everything by themselves and get support.
So who typically benefits most from home care services, especially in the Seattle greater area?
When we talk about who benefits from home care, I see two sides to the situation. There is the person who needs the support. They are in the home, they aren't as steady as they used to be. Maybe their memory is fading and they need help with their daily routines, or maybe they just had a surgery or hospitalization. So they're the ones that need the support in the home. But it's more than that. It can also be the family member who's holding it all together. And that family member can be the adult daughter who is juggling work and home and family and taking care of a parent all at once. And then it can also be the spouse who's been a long-time caretaker for their loved one and they are just running on empty. So there's two sides to home care and who we're supporting. And home care just brings stability to the whole situation.
Yeah, definitely. Now, what signs suggests a loved one may need professional home care support?
When families are trying to figure out if it's time to bring in that professional support, I usually tell them to look for a few patterns. There's some things we can look for. First, are those daily tasks around the house getting harder? Are papers stacking up? The food has some stinkiness going on in there. Does bathing feel risky to you? Are you worried that someone is going to fall because they're attempting showers when that is pretty dangerous? Are meals happening consistently? Are medications getting missed, or are they getting mixed up, or you're just unsure that medications are being taken properly? And then that sense that they might fall, or they've had several near falls but they haven't ended up in the hospital yet. If you feel like there's that unsteadiness, all of those are a good reason to consider home care. And if you're starting to feel overwhelmed as a caregiver as well, that's a really good sign, because it's not just the person who needs the support, it's the family caring for them. So if you're losing sleep, if you have that low-grade worry that never goes away because it's 100% you all the time, that's the time to think about it. And one more thing, I think important for the adult children, having been there myself, asking for help is not giving up on your parent or giving up on the situation. It's just the practical thing you need to do to care for yourself, and that gets forgotten. And I think it's really important to reach out earlier than you think to support yourself and your family.
So Jennie, Acti-Kare was recently recognized by the Seattle Times as best in-home care in the Pacific Northwest. So, as a reflection, what does that mean to the commitment and, community-rooted care that you guys provide?
Winning Seattle Times Best in the Northwest for home care was a really big deal, and I think it showed the support we have from our caregivers and from our team of employees who love to work from us, and the support from our clients that appreciate us and want us to be recognized and feel like we're doing a great job. That was an important, no, I don't know where to fill that.
Accomplishment.
There you go. Yeah, so the clients appreciating us enough to vote for us, that made it feel like an important accomplishment for us, as well as referral partners who trust us and send people in need our way. Their vote of confidence, it means a lot to us as well.
Good answer. Now, moving on. Jenny, walk us through how a typical home care plan begins with a new client locally.
Yeah. So let me walk you through what a typical home care process looks like. The first step is when someone reaches out to us. That's almost always on the phone. And when you call our office, you get our local team. That's today, tonight, this weekend, you get our local team. And the first thing is that conversation. We want to hear from you personally and understand what's going on. What does your typical day look like with your loved one? What has changed? What needs need to be met that aren't being met today? We just want to understand the full picture of how we can support a family. Honestly, that doesn't always mean home care. Sometimes we refer to other solutions, but if home care is the right solution, then we move quickly and we meet in the client's home to better understand the full situation, and we move quickly to get care started.
Good, as it should be. So, how are caregivers chosen by Acti-Kare, and how are they prepared before supporting the clients at home safely?
So when families ask, how do you recruit and hire your caregivers, what really matters to us is qualifications and fit for our company. There's the basics. There's background checks, experience verification, reference checks, and training, and certification checks. Our caregivers are all W-2 employees, so they are full employees of our company, and that means we have real accountability over who walks into your family member's home. We also have the team motto that we only hire caregivers we would want to care for our own family. So it's a pretty high bar, and we are picky. But what really makes a difference in the process is the match, and our team that does the matching for caregivers and clients. We look at personality, we look at communication style, and we look at shared interests. Because when it's a good fit, the care is easy and natural, and your family member looks forward to having their caregiver come. But also, when the match is not quite right, we want to know. Just like in real life, not every first match is perfect. It can take a minute. It can take a minute to adjust, or if it's not the right match, we will change it, and we work together and communicate to find out what was a little off and how we can improve. So it's a working relationship to get the right fit.
Definitely, and that's a great motto to have. It's very trusting. So, what measures helps ensure consistent quality and safety during in-home care visits?
There's a lot we do to ensure consistent quality and safety. One thing I always explain is that high quality home care, it just doesn't happen automatically. You have to work for it. Our operations are built very, very carefully. It comes from clear care plans, really good overall communication, and continuous oversight during the whole relationship with the client and the caregiver. So what does that actually mean? It means regular phone and in-person check-ins from our support team to make sure that both the family and the caregiver are supported. We want to support our caregivers just as much as we support our families. It's really important to us. And that happens not just the first day of care. That's ongoing. We check in. We want to have that open line of communication to know how it's going along the way. Another part of being prepared and quality is when things don't go as planned. So if caregiver is sick or other circumstances happen, health changes, families shouldn't feel like they're having to navigate this alone. We partner with them, we work together, we provide backup care, we provide consistency, and that is all happening behind the scenes in our structure and operations.
Good. Good. So what should families in the greater Seattle area expect during the first week after care services start?
The first week is a lot. And it's an adjustment. It takes a minute for everyone. There is a new person in the home. Routines are being learned. The relationship is just beginning. And it can feel a little bit unfamiliar or awkward at first, and that's completely normal. And we like to work with families through that phase. And then pretty soon it becomes a trusted relationship, both with our support team and the caregiver. What I see over and over is that often the family supporting their loved one is more anxious about the care than the person receiving the care. And so just kind of calming everyone's nerves and walking them through the process is what we do to ease that anxiety. And so here's what we do. Our team checks in directly. We do the in-person introduction of the caregiver, make sure everything is feeling good that first day, or anytime there's a new caregiver. We will check in on the phone right away with the client and the caregiver to hear about how it went from both perspectives. We also check in with family members to see how they're feeling and how care went, if something needs to be adjusted. It's communication all the way through. And if something isn't quite right, we find out quickly that way, and we adjust quickly. And that's not just after the first day of care. We will check in frequently along the way, both in person and on the phone. But to answer your question, the first week, things usually settle within the first few days of care. And that's what we look and hope for. Often the first day it can be, but it's not always the first moment.
So Jenny, how can families help the loved ones adjust positively to receiving care at home?
Sure. It's very normal for a family to have an adjustment period for that time you're just starting to have care in the home. And when someone is hesitant about that help, and a lot of time parents are, the kids want help, the parent says no, the way it's introduced really matters. We find that framing home care as support, it's supporting independence so that you don't lose your independence, that can make a big difference. So saying something like, this helps us stay on top of things together lands much better than, you need this, mom. So it's a mutual support thing. Another way to adjust is to start small. You start with a few hours a week. You feel how that's kind of nice to have somebody here to chat with. They get things done for you. You get to go for a walk, or get things done that you normally don't do because you're more limited in your home. So it's the small tests can lead into more care, which is what the family might want, but starting small is a good way to get comfortable as well.
Definitely. Now, when it comes to Acti-Kare, what should families look for when choosing a trustworthy home care provider?
Yeah, that's a good question. When families are looking for a home care provider, and there's a lot out there, there's some things I think they should pay close attention to about how the agency operates. One of the big questions I would say is ask who answers the phone both on the weekday or on a weekend. Who do you hear on the other line? Is this someone local that knows your family's situation? Is it part of a team that talks about what's going on? Or is this a call center far away that is just handling the calls and it's not personal to you? Or is it AI? Because that's happening a lot more too. Who's on the other end of the line when you call and you want to talk to somebody? Secondly, I would say ask what their backup plan is when their regular caregiver can't make it. That will happen. I mean, people get sick, things change, and so if someone can't come that day, what do you do? What does the agency do for you, and how do they handle that situation with you and together with you. Another important piece to ask an agency is about their caregivers. Are they credentialed? What is their training? How did you hire them? Are you doing background checks and calling their reference checks and talking to their references? Like, how do you know, how do you feel confident in your caregivers? And then the other important thing I would ask is, what does the support team do for the family? Are they personally doing introductions? What level of involvement would they expect throughout care? Not just the first day, but in the first week, the first month, the next month. What is that interaction going to look like? Who are you going to be talking to and working with, and how accessible are they?
Now, what misunderstandings or misconceptions do families often have about starting professional home care services?
There's so many misunderstandings about what happens when you start home care. That big one I mentioned earlier is giving up independence, that hiring home care means, you know, it's over, you've given up. And we've seen the opposite in a lot of cases. It's giving that independence. We have clients that have had us supporting them for years. Like, it can be a longer term solution to keep your independence and keep you at home and help you. And that right level of support is really important. I think another big misconception is that, and this just happens because of circumstances, but waiting until things are really serious. I would always encourage families to get help before that big fall happens. Prevent the fall. You know, that will save money and independence in the long run if you have help supporting your loved one instead of waiting till after the accident happens, which we also see a lot, and that's okay, but it's okay to get started earlier in home care than later. I think another big one to talk about is that home care is all or nothing. There are options to have small bits of home care to support you. It doesn't have to be 24 hours a day. It doesn't even have to be 8 hours a day. You can get small chunks of support once a week or multiple times a week. That can be very helpful for a family and make a meaningful difference. And then I'd say, if you're not sure, like, what level of care you need, our team is really good. You can reach out and we'll talk through the options together. Yeah.
So Jennie, what makes Acti-Kare different than another home care agency?
Good question. You know, I'm not going to lie, there are lots of good home care companies out there, and it's a mixed bag of good and bad. I think with our company, you are going to get a really personal touch. You are going to get a team that all knows about all of the clients, how to support them, what's going on. We are really good at communicating and making scheduling changes and tweaks as needed. So I think you're going to get a high touch, high personal level of care. On the other hand, we're not small. We have over 140 caregivers and a good sized support team. So we have options and we have lots of caregivers. So I think we're the just right size that we can support a lot of families while still being personal and still being local and family run.
Now, Jennie, is there anything else that you would like to tell someone that skips through this interview and wants to hear the ending conclusion? Anything that you want to tell someone?
The last thing I would want to share is that families should think about their parents. No, that's not the right way to say it. The last thing I would want to share is that families should talk earlier than later about what the parents or grandparents want as they get into retirement and get into their later years. Do they want to stay at home? Do they want to live at an assisted living with a lot of their friends? What are their wishes? And I think that's important to talk about before any crisis occurs, be on the same page about what they want for the future in all regards, right? You also need to know, their DNR and their legal and financial situation. There's a lot you need to talk about in advance before it's too late, and then you're guessing and you're scrambling. So I would say find out what you want sooner than later, and think about starting sooner than later as well to get comfortable and to support them so they can have the best health and the best years at home where they want to be.
Well, thank you so much, Jenny, and I hope the best to your future, and it was a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you, Josh.